Order this morning of the Board of Zoning Appeals, January 14th. This will be the organizational hearing for 2025. So if you'd like to all stand, pledge allegiance, except for you, Richard.
Thanks.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Scott, could you do the roll call, please?
Thing, Mr. Coleman.
Present.
Mr. Cooper.
Here.
Mr. Danderian.
Here.
Mr. Howe.
Here.
Mr. Jemison.
Here.
All right. So next up, we have the adoption of the 2025 Board of Zoning Appeals hearing schedule. So in your staff reports there, you should have a copy of that schedule. If there are any comments on that, or if you guys have noticed any conflicts with dates that we haven't, let us know. What, is it not in there?
See it.
Is it the second Tuesday?
Second Tuesday.
It's going to be the second Tuesday of every month.
Okay, that's all I need. Good enough for me.
Looks good to me.
All right. If somebody would like to make a motion to adopt that,
So moved.
Second.
roll call, please.
Mr. Howe.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Jemison.
Yes.
Mr. Danderian.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
All right. Next up, we have nominations for chairperson of the board. If there are any motions to nominate anybody, we'll hear those now.
I move to nominate Alan Howe for chairperson of the board.
I like the quiet part.
I will second this nomination.
Any challengers? No. Roll call, please.
No
Mr.
stick left.
Jemison.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Danderian.
Yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
All right. Congratulations, Mr. Howell.
Thank you.
Now take nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Mr. Jemison.
Second.
Anybody else? No? Roll call, please.
Mr. Danderian.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Jemison.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes.
All right, and with that, take a motion to adjourn this organizational hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Who was first?
I think it was a tie between
Mr. Howe.
Howell.
We're not going to dispute it.
Pick the
Mr.
name,
Coleman?
any name.
Yes.
Mr. Danderian.
Yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes.
Mr. Jemison.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
All right,
Okay. We're adjourned till 6:30.
Adjourned to 6:30.
That was painful.
Yeah.
Quick, simple, and easy.
I know, we made it.
I know.
Thank you, sir. Okay, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year to you. It is 6:30 on the 14th of January, and I'm going to call this meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals to order. You join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Sorry about that. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Scott, are you calling the roll?
I am. Mr. Coleman?
Yep.
Mr. Cooper?
Here.
Mr. Danderian?
Here.
Mr. Howe?
Here.
Mr. Jemison?
Here.
Thank you. We do have a full board. We can roll right into it. First item on the agenda is old business. And I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to remove conditional use 24-002 from the table. I can get a second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll please.
Mr. Danderian?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Jemison?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Thank you. So we can go roll right into that, I guess. Jack?
Of course, so the applicant here is T3 Acquisitions. It's located at the northeast corner of Broad Street and John Reese Parkway. We're looking at 1.22 acres out of a total of 3.43. It's currently zoned general business, and they're requesting approval of a conditional use pursuant to section 1215.08 Pataskala Code to allow for the establishment of a restaurant with a drive-through facility. Look up here. This red shaded area is the area we're looking at in question. The yellow is the entire parcel. We got Broad Street to the south here, John Reese Parkway to the west, Richard Conine Street on the north. So I'm sure we're all pretty familiar with this project by now, so we won't dwell too much on the specifics. Not much has changed aside for at the last hearing they had proposed installing a traffic signal at Broad Street and John Reese Parkway in lieu of doing that traffic impact study. Here's a look at their proposed plan. So don't see any changes on the plan, but down here in this red shaded area would be where that proposed access improvements at the intersection are going to be. As part of their narrative statement, they did update it to state that they are committed to design and install a traffic signal at the intersection of John Reese Parkway and Broad Street. And they'll work with the city to study, design, and construct a signal to meet city and state spec requirements. Those improvements are going to include a westbound turn lane, the length of which is going to be determined as part of the engineering phase, mast arm poles, radar detection, and battery backup. The cost of this study, design, and construction is to be borne by the developer. As part of our review, staff would offer the following comments. So the future land use map recommends medium density residential, which is single family at a density of 2 to 6 units an acre. Proposed use wouldn't fall in line with the comprehensive plan. However, it is already zoned GB, which allows for drive-throughs as a conditional use. Staff reviewed the submitted site plan, so we have our full list of comments that is attached to your staff report there. Property is within the Transportation Corridor Overlay District, so any development would need TCID approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission. They'll be looking at things like the layout of the property, the screening, parking, et cetera. So that would be the next step after this. They'll have to go to Planning and Zoning Commission. Pursuant to section 1215.09, conditional uses shall be carried out within 6 months of the date of approval, and the applicant may request a one-time 6 months extension after that. The applicant did state they've committed to design and construct a traffic signal at the intersection of John Reese Parkway and Broad Street to meet city and state requirements. City engineer had the following comments. The proposed access point on Broad Street appears too close to a major intersection as it is close at the same point as the taper begins for the for the right turn deceleration lane for the intersection to the west. 2, a traffic impact study may be required. 3, plan does not show an area reserved for stormwater detention and water quality treatment. The utility department had a comment that they need to put a backflow prevention device on the drinking water supply and a grease interceptor on the sanitary service line. And the public service department stated that the proposed right-in, right-out on Broad Street will not be allowed in the turn lane or turn lane taper, and that they provided applicant with the requirements for the intersection improvements, which they agreed to in their narrative statement. Didn't receive any other comments from any other departments or agencies. So surrounding properties to the north, it's R10, high-density residential, which is single-family homes, and general business, which is undeveloped. To the east is general business, which is the vacant property, and then the bank further east of that. On the south side, you have a mix of R10 and R15, medium high-density residential, which are single-family homes. And to the west is also zoned general business, which is currently undeveloped. There, your findings of fact for conditional use are also printed in your staff report there. So should the board choose to approve the applicant's request, the following conditions may be considered. One, that the applicant address all comments from the city engineer, public service department, Pataskala Utilities Department, planning and zoning staff. And two, that the applicant shall carry out the conditional use within 6 months of the date of approval pursuant to section 1215.09 of the Pataskala Code. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions for staff?
No.
Do we have anyone representing the applicant to speak? You need to swear you, Annie. Good.
So you raise your right hand, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Can I get your name and address, please?
Sure. My name is Jerry Royce. I'm with T3 Acquisitions, 3951 Hammersmith Lane, Loveland, Ohio, 45140.
Thank you.
Have with me David Parker. He's head of our construction department.
David Parker, Loveland, Ohio, 1706 Pheasant Hill Drive.
Thank you. You all hopefully have received a copy of the
We have.
same report.
We have,
And you heard the presentation. Can you, anything to add or?
yeah, appreciate your time tonight. Good to see you again. We're in agreement with staff and the recommendation and that we're fine with go ahead and going through the traffic impact study, designing the light to the specifications that you guys are interested in. So we're in agreement there. We're in agreement with right in, right out being moved to a location that makes sense. So, in summary, we're in agreement with the recommendations and would like to move forward with continuing the design and working with you on a site plan that works for everyone.
Thank you.
Anything to add?
Mr. Parker, Jim?
No, I have not. No, thank you.
No problem. Any questions or comments for Mr. Royce or Mr. Parker?
Not this one.
Okay. Gentlemen,
Thank you.
Thank you. Jack, I'm looking at the proposed conditions. And should one of those conditions mention the traffic light?
So both the city engineer and the public service director provided comments in regards to the requirements of that traffic light would have to meet. So I believe that would be taken
would
care of
cover
by the first condition there, address all comments.
Okay. I just didn't see where they commented. The city engineer has,
My question is similar, is whether or not this traffic issue is going to be addressed. It is.
If you feel more comfortable attaching a specific condition that they do have to provide a light, you can certainly do so.
TCOD is still gonna review all this.
Do most
As
of
it
that.
goes
I mean,
in.
The main thing we're looking at is whether or not they
Yeah.
can use it.
Sorry,
properly
Scott.
with a driveway or not.
I'm sorry?
I think the main thing we're looking at is whether or not they can use the
Drive-through.
drive-through or not, right?
So if I could jump in, the public service department did have a conversation with the applicant about if you're going to do a light, this is what's expected. The
Okay.
applicant updated their application and put their cover letter that they're going to do the radar detection, battery backup, things of that nature. So they put that in their application that they're committing to do that.
Okay.
Furthermore, from the comments from the public service department, in their comments, they say, here's what's expected of the light. So with condition number one, it would cover that they have to address those comments in the sense that they have to do these specifics for the light. Plus, in the applicant's application, they have already committed to that, so it's kind of covered twice.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the public service director's full comments are
That's
the
what I was
back.
looking at.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
kind of summarized it in at least the staff report because it was
Gotcha.
pretty lengthy.
gotcha. Perfect. Well, that covers that, so that's good. Any other comments or questions for anyone at this point? And I do have another speaker request from Ms. Heidi Jenkins. Have you come up? And if you don't mind raising your right hand.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
And if I could have you state your name and address, please, for the record.
Heidi Jenkins. I'm at 412 Alonzo Palmer Street, Pataskala, in the settlement at Pataskala.
Thank you.
So I think we were here back in March, and many of us were here from the community at the settlement. We kind of discussed some things, and I guess when I left that meeting, I thought we were all in agreement that we were good with the traffic study, the traffic impact study. So not only, having that traffic impact study, I think would be helpful because we talked about like going westbound, there is no turn lane to go onto Leiden. So you've got one lane of traffic there. Putting a traffic light isn't going to address that. We also have that intersection at John Reese and Richard Conine. That's not going to be addressed if we don't do a traffic impact study. There's a lot of traffic that goes in and out. When I left here at 6 o'clock to come over, I was 4 cars deep and there were 2 lines of cars. So, for us getting in and out of our own neighborhood, is going to be impacted. And we would really like to see that traffic impact study to kind of judge to see, this light, is it really going to address all of our issues? Secondarily, I know we're here really to talk about the drive-through and that being the conditional use. Having the drive-through there is going to increase the amount of traffic that's coming in and out. And I've not really seen much of how that traffic flow is going to go, where people are coming in, where people are coming out. So, those are the questions that I think we need to have answered before we decide we're going to move forward with this.
We had kind of determined that the traffic impact study would obviously and from all my notes from the citizens was the light was the issue and
Yeah.
something.
But I don't know that
No.
without the traffic impact study that
As
we're
far
going to
as
know.
as far as the in and out and all that, that would be covered with the TCOD study,
Okay.
and that is going to be required for the
Okay.
permitting process. And already there's parts of that are being addressed, like not allowing that right in, right out, or excuse me, right in, right out.
Yeah, because we have the right in to our subdivision
Right.
there. But like I said, there's the right in, there's the straight lane going westbound,
Mhm.
and there are people that get over into the hatched area that's not really hatched since they've done the paving. I don't believe they've painted that. Can't honestly say because it's been snow covered. But I don't believe that they've put that hatch marking in there. But, there's a lot of cars that pull over into that hatch marking, or either, if they do it legally, they're in that westbound lane to turn left onto Leiden. And there are people that go straight across to the park and things like that. So it's just it's been a very tricky intersection, and adding, this business is going to increase our traffic flow through there, not only within our subdivision, but in front of our subdivision too. So I think that's what we were really looking forward to, was that traffic study, just to really look at the whole big picture of it and understand what was actually needed besides just a light.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any comments or questions for Ms. Jenkins?
It addresses more than the light.
I'm sorry?
It addresses more than the light.
The traffic impact study. Yeah.
Was there something in there about the west lane too? The westbound lane? I thought I saw something.
We'd
in
have
the
to ask,
notes.
Yes, so we have there
Westbound
improvements
turn
to
lane.
include a westbound turn lane.
So that it is partially being addressed
From
already.
John Reese.
No, it would be from
Maybe
Broad.
on Broad.
So there's the hatched area, if we're going west on Broad, there's a straight, there's the right turn lane, and then there's the hatched area. That hatched area, the public service department's gonna make be a left
Mhm.
turn lane going south. So it's going west, but then to take it, it's going south.
So that's.
Part of this, and this was the discussion, that traffic impact study would more than likely say that a light is needed there.
Right.
So during the last discussion with the BZA, the applicant said, in lieu of doing the traffic study, that we probably know the result, but if we just commit to do the light and meet state requirements in order to do that.
And then all of those requirements are going to come out from the TCOD study anyhow.
Those will come out as part of the construction plans. We'll start the process with the TCOD and working with the Public Service Department to say, kind of how is this gonna lay out? But with the construction plans, that include stormwater and how we're gonna put in the light, that comes with the construction plan that works with the Public Service Department and city engineers to design that.
I think the applicant wanted to.
Oh, I'm sorry, come up, Mr. Reese. Mr. Reese, right? Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So I think you're correct. Between working with TCOD and the traffic study is going to show what's needed as far as improvements, right? And the light, and I mean, we think it can be anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000 as far as everything that needs to be done here, and that's what we're committing to here. So I think that's all going to be taken care of in that process, and make sure that the safety is there and those sorts of things. So that's the purpose of the traffic study and what's
This
needed.
traffic study does not design the intersection. It just tells
Right.
you
No.
it needs to be done,
Yeah.
not tell you how many cars can come one way versus the other way. That's all a different process. So, I mean, I'm hearing what the neighbor's saying, but I think that traffic study is not gonna design it. It just warrants it. So we just want to make sure that there is a distinction between the two things. Correct?
Correct.
Yes. So the traffic study will ultimately show that
Show what we know it's going to
you
show.
need a light there.
Correct.
So we kind of already know what's going on, so that's why they came in, the last time to say, what if we skip the study, we know what it's gonna show, we'll just commit to do the light to city standards and make the necessary roadway improvements in conjunction with that.
And I think, going back to the March and the couple of meetings, there was concerns about safety and things like that. And so the way to alleviate that is to put a light there. So,
Well, I think the light is inevitable anyway, look at it. So. And I'm glad that something will be happening to make that safer. May I just ask, it's assuming everything is approved and you're moving forward on the permitting process, what would be the timing of the light in relationship to the construction of the unit?
yeah, and David maybe can help me, but it's going to take a while to do the design for the traffic
Correct.
light. So we would work, that would be the first thing, right? And then work in conjunction with the users.
I think my thought is, would the building be up and running and we're still designing the traffic light?
The building be up and running?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I'm
No,
talking,
we would
I'm talking way
design-
down the road.
Yeah, no, we would design
Yeah.
the traffic light first.
The construction of the traffic light would be done in conjunction with the building. The
But
building.
prior to completion.
Yeah, that's a condition that
Yeah.
you guys could put on there, that you don't
Right.
issue a occupancy until
Right.
such time that the intersection. is
But
approved.
design-wise, we would want to know
Of course.
exactly
Sure.
what everyone
Yeah,
wants
understand
before.
We know it's not
We start
something that
building it.
you can just come in next week and slap up a pole, so.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Royce or Mr. Parker?
Oh, I have none.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Jenkins, I think, we've gone around and we've talked with them for many months now, trying to get to this point. And I think that what is being proposed is a benefit for the neighborhood that obviously isn't there now and has been overdue. The city is getting involved in specking exactly what has to happen. Apparently, we've got, if it's painted right and not snow covered, the lanes to be used the right way. So we're comfortable moving forward that they would give the needed, additions to that intersection that you don't have today, which is important.
Can I ask that the city please just kind of look at the intersection there within our subdivision, which is John Reese and Richard Conine, because that's coming out of the back of the Starbucks. So there will be an entrance back there. So those cars will be
Right.
They're coming out and turning left, they're going through that intersection, and that's a pretty wide intersection.
Mhm.
So I'm just, I'm concerned about within the neighborhood as well.
Understand.
I think the light will address a lot of, and I think it'll address a lot of our problems, just like right now, coming in and out of our neighborhood.
Hopefully.
But like I said, I have the other concern with the other intersection as well, with people coming in and out of
Right,
there.
anybody going westbound would have to go out
Yeah.
that way. And I believe that's part of the TCOD, that's because of the
Okay.
flow of the traffic.
Yeah, that's the only thing I ask. I mean, I'm not
Yes.
opposed to this, and I think that, I welcome anybody that wants to come to our community, but I just want to make sure that, people are safe, and
And we
there are
do
a lot
too.
of people that walk across there. I see people walk across Broad Street all the time, and there's nothing there for them
Well, they're crazy.
to get across. But,
But no, I understand what you're saying, and we certainly support that.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So what we're looking at is, obviously it's zoned so they can put the business in. We're just allowing the conditional use for the drive-through part of the facility.
Correct.
Is there any other discussion that we would like to address at this point?
Not for me.
And I think, unless I hear some resistance, I'm going to move right to findings of fact. Sound good?
Good.
All right, findings of fact, conditional use 24-002. Number one, is in fact a conditional use as established under the provisions of Title III of the Planning and Zoning Code for the specific zoning district of the parcel listed on the application. I'm comfortable that that is a yes. You're okay? Okay, two, will be harmonious with and in accordance with the general objectives or with any specific objective of the city comprehensive plan and, or this code. And the plan is obviously that it's zoned for that type of business anyhow. So I think we're comfortable with yes.
Yes.
Okay, three, will be designed, constructed, operated, maintained so as to be harmonious in appearance with the existing or attendant character of the general vicinity, and that such use will not change the essential character of the same area. Again, there's no other business right there, but, in the comprehensive plan, that it would in fact meet that requirement, I think.
Agreed.
It is going to change the character of the area because it's a vacant lot right now. So I'm going to say yes, if you're okay.
I'm good.
Okay, four, will not be hazardous or disturbing to existing or future neighboring uses. Well, that would be the traffic that we've discussed now for the better part of the year. So based on the conditions of the light and the TCOD, I think I'm comfortable with yes on that. Okay. Five, will be served adequately by essential public facilities and services such as highways, streets, police and fire, drainage structures, refuse disposal, water, sewer, and schools, or that the persons or agencies responsible for the establishment of the proposed use shall be able to provide adequately to pay for any such services. And yes, all those services are in that area as we speak. Six, will not create additional requirements at public cost for public facilities and services, and will not be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community. And as far as additional public cost, the applicant is bearing that cost to improve that.
Right.
So I think we're comfortable with yes.
Yes.
Seven, will not involve uses, activities, processes, materials, and equipment and conditions of operations that will be detrimental to any persons, property, or the general welfare, including but not limited to excessive production of traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glare, odor, potential for explosion, and air or water pollution. Any thoughts on that?
As long as the TCOD satisfied.
Exactly.
Right.
It wouldn't be permitted without that, right?
Right.
So comfortable with yes?
Yes.
Eight, will have vehicular approaches to the property which shall be so designed as to not create an interference with traffic on surrounding public thoroughfares. And I think we kind of beat that one to death, so comfortable with yes. And nine, will not result in destruction, loss, or damage of a natural, scenic, or historic feature of major importance. And it would not do that.
Agreed.
So, looking at all that, we got conditional use of, conditional use 24-002, findings of fact, we have yes for all 1 through 9. And that being said, does anybody want to make a motion?
I move to approve a conditional use pursuant to section 1215.08 of the Pataskala Code for application CU-24-002 with the following conditions. The applicant shall address all comments from the city engineer, public service department, public Pataskala Utilities Department, and planning and zoning staff. And two, the applicant shall carry out conditional use within 6 months of the date of approval pursuant to section 1215.09 of the Pataskala Code.
Thank you. Motion, can we get a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, roll please.
Mr. Jemison,
Yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Danderian,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Thank you. Conditional use 24-002 has been approved. Mr. Royce, Mr. Parker, we can start moving forward with the next, obviously, step in the planning process. We appreciate your commitment to upgrading that intersection. Thank you. Okay. All right, next on the agenda would be another conditional use application, conditional use 24-009.
I will say I did speak with the applicant a little earlier today. He's actually on his way back from New York. I understand with all the storms, it's taking him a little longer to get here than he expected.
Okay.
I don't see him in the crowd right now. I don't know if there might be any interest in moving this down on the agenda, proceeding with another one beforehand, or
I'm good with that.
This one is, yeah, we can certainly put that. Let me just move it. I'll move it to the end.
Yeah.
I don't believe you need a motion or anything to do that.
Yeah, 009. Move that down. And then we'll move right into variance application 24-024.
Of course. So the location of this is 7290 Mink Street Southwest. It's currently zoned general business and requesting approval of a use variance pursuant to section 1221.07B of the Pataskala Code to allow for the establishment of a non-conforming residential use on the property. So if you look up here, the parcel outlined in yellow is the subject parcel. You got Mink Street on the east side here. The property itself is 2.2 acres in size, currently occupied by a single-family home with one accessory structure. It's an existing non-conforming use, so it's zoned general business, but there's an existing single-family dwelling on it, and it can remain a residential dwelling as that was in place before the zoning change. They just can't add anything to it. So the use variance request is for them to allow a second residential use on the property. They intend to locate a travel trailer. It's about 560 square feet in size on the south end of the existing driveway loop behind the home. That travel trailer would also require numerous other area variances that are separate from the actual use, as trailers can't be used as a permanent dwelling. Those have been applied for in VA 24025, which is immediately following on the agenda here.
Okay.
The trailer is about 134 feet from the front property line on Mink Street, 118 and a half feet from the south side property line, and about 22 feet from the south face of the existing home next to the existing driveway that accesses Mink Street on both the north and south sides of the home. So here's a look at the site plan that was submitted by the applicant. We got Mink Street over here on the right, the existing home, so they got their driveway loop that runs behind the house, and the proposed location of the trailer right here. And here's kind of look at the existing conditions on the lot. So this is looking kind of towards the northwest. So south side of the home, driveway here. Kind of look on the front, you can actually see the trailer back here. And then this is looking towards the southwest from the north side of the property. So in the narrative statement that was submitted by the applicant, they said they were not aware of the zoning restrictions when the property was purchased in 2018. They also stated that their parents had been living in an RV that was destroyed by a fire in October of last year, or 2023, and they purchased another travel trailer that was moved to the property for them to reside in. They also stated that the trailer has on-site electric and would be connected to the existing well and would have the trailer's septic tank pumped out regularly. As part of our review, staff would offer the following comments to the current zoning. The west frontage of Mink Street, South Broad is general business, which does not allow for residential uses. However, there is that existing non-conforming use in the form of the existing home on the property, which may remain. However, they just can't add any other non-conforming uses as it doesn't meet the zoning. As mentioned before, there's numerous other variances that would be required to allow for a travel trailer to be considered a habitable structure. There aren't any other existing zoning districts within the city that would allow for a second single-family residence on a single lot. As the applicant intends to establish a non-conforming use on site, the use variance is required, hence the request here. Planning and Zoning Department did receive a complaint in August of last year regarding the subject property. So the investigation revealed that a travel trailer on site was being used as a residence. We did give notification, and on or before December 4th of last year, the trailer was removed from the property. The zoning inspector included kind of a summary of his violation process with this property, which is there also in your staff report. Didn't receive any comments from any of the departments or agencies. Surrounding properties to the north is zoned general business, which is currently used for agriculture. To the east is Plain Manufacturing, which is a warehouse distribution center that's under construction. To the south is general business, and to the west is general business as well, both used for agriculture. There are your findings of fact for a variance. However, as this is also a use variance, in addition to those factors identified previously, section 1211.07B of the Pataskala Code states that the following additional factors shall be considered when determining a use variance as warranted. It's the intent of factors below to prevent property owner from attempting to request a use variance rather than engage in the rezoning process. That being A, the applicant owner created the alleged hardship. B, the board finds that the application is primarily made for purposes of convenience and profit. And C, if substantial ground offered in support of an application for a use variance is the existence of other non-conforming uses of neighboring lands, structures, or buildings in the same zoning district or other zoning districts. So should the board choose to approve the applicant's request, following conditions may be considered. That the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the City of Pataskala and Lincoln County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Questions for staff?
So this is not being considered an accessory dwelling unit.
No.
Okay. Is that because it's a trailer? I just know we've had those before. I'm just trying to remember back to those.
So this one, we're approving, it's kind of a conditional use, right?
Kind of. So we've done
Makes
accessory
sense.
dwelling units in the past that are part of accessory structures. So we had one that was like a mother-in-law suite that was in like a barn, something like that. This also, those were zoned residential. This one's not. So residential is not permitted use.
Right.
There's the existing house. It
Yep.
predates the code, so it could remain residential. However, we can't establish any new residential uses on that property. Hence, they've requested the use variance.
Okay. I'm with you
Okay. Any other
now. No, I'm good.
questions for staff at this point? And is Emily or Joshua Brown here? Did you want to speak?
Do I want to? No.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to. I
Does
just
it have to have us here?
want to give you the opportunity if you want to. If you
Sure.
can, I'll have you sworn in.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. Now I believe you got a copy of the presentation and saw the presentation. Is there anything you want to clarify or clear up for us on that?
No, I believe Jack hit all of our points of everything that we're asking for. It was something, this was our first home that we've purchased, so we were unaware of, zoning. I know that's not an excuse to say it's not okay. But as soon as we were, made aware of our situation, we made plans to make sure we were still abiding by the rules of the city. So that's the last thing we want to do is break any rules as we stay there. So my parents are very important to us, and this is us taking care of them now as they start to age. So that's the reason for us, standing here today. If they weren't unwell, they would have been here with us too. So we appreciate your time and discussing this. So
Thank you. Any questions or Ms. Brown?
I think it was already addressed. Is the proposal in the same location it is right now?
Well, it's currently not there.
Become removed?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
But that's where you want it, back where it was?
yes.
Ideally, that puts it in the best location to hook up to our well water and the electrical outlet that we placed out there for.
Hmm.
Fair enough.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We may call you back, but
Sounds good.
yeah, as far as discussion, I got to say, I'm not real comfortable setting a precedent because we're in an area that's going to be heavily developed and still is. I mean, we do one, and what's to say the other ones can't just start popping up all around? That's my concern. And I don't believe we've ever done
I guess
just a travel trailer for a full occupancy. I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, I don't know the travel trailer. The thing I was thinking of, and the reason I brought up the ADU in the first place, is I know we approved that cabin that got relocated up on Columbia.
Okay.
But that was more on the foundation.
Yeah, that's
That's true.
Structure.
But at the same time, I guess and I mean, I'm not saying anything one way or the other. I'm just saying this is a use variance that if they were to put anything else out there, they'd have to get further approval.
Yeah, my concern is the precedent it sets for others.
Sure. Yeah. No.
Not their situation. I empathize with the situation. Unfortunately, obviously, or not unfortunately, but obviously, it's already been recognized as an issue because it was reported. So it's not something that's discreet.
Sure.
I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Do we have any public comment?
We don't receive any.
Any other thoughts? If not, I move to findings of fact. And I don't believe I got one on this one. Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's in the back. Perfect. Okay, findings of fact, variance application 24-024. A, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or if there can be a beneficial use of the property. Certainly, it would be a beneficial use. I'm comfortable with yes on that.
Yes.
B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulation, such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. And I don't believe there are any physical circumstances or conditions that are mandating that.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to say no for B. C, whether the variance requested is substantial. I don't know. How would you judge that? What's your thoughts?
I almost think
I
it's
would
not
say
applicable.
Considering you can't
It's a better way to put it.
add any additional properties to that.
That's true. Okay, so that would be more, obviously, 100% add, I guess. So C would be yes. D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered, whether the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. And there's really pretty much vacant all the way around. I don't think the character would be negatively affected.
Agreed.
Or that.
It's true.
So I would say no. E, whether the variance, if granted, will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent property. It certainly wouldn't have any effect that way. So E would be no. F, whether the variance, if granted, will be detrimental to the public welfare. Again, no. That was good. G, whether the variance, if granted, would adversely affect the delivery of government services. Should have no negative effect on that. No. H, whether the property owner purchased subject property with knowledge of the zoning restrictions. The owner testified that they did not have knowledge, so that would be no. I, whether the property owner's predicament can be obviated through some other method than variance. Just not do it.
Right.
So I'd have to say yes. Okay. J, whether the variance if granted will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue. Again, does it really apply?
Yeah, it could be more. It could be asking for more. This is pretty minimal.
Okay, will represent the minimum. So we'll say yes, it does. Okay. And K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. I don't see where it would. The spirit and intent behind it. The requirement is not to use a trailer like that for, I don't see where it would really be just. My thought on this is no. Anyone else?
I agree with that.
Anybody else? You're comfortable with no?
Well, considering the zoning, and they can't add any additional structures to it. That's what I'm going by.
Okay, so K would be no. So variance application 24024, I've got yes for A, C, I, and J, and we've got no for B, D, E, F, G, H, and for K.
We have additional factors.
Yeah, we got the use.
There's
variance.
additional factors for the use variance.
Ooh, okay. Some factors to be considered. A, the applicant owner created the alleged hardship, or the board finds the application is primarily made for purposes of convenience or profit. Or whether unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulation, that such variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property.
These are separate.
I mean, it says, but A and B says A or B. Or A says or, so I assume it's B. But I think we should handle them separate, right?
It would be 3 separate ones.
Yeah.
Mine does.
Doesn't say or?
Mine doesn't, but
Oh, okay. Well, good. I like yours better. All right. So A, the applicant or owner created the alleged hardship. Say yes.
Yeah.
Okay. B, the board finds that the application is primarily made for purposes of convenience or profit, or whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulations such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. And I think on the or is no.
That verbiage is not
That's not how
in
mine
mine.
reads.
No?
Is that on your like chairperson agenda?
It's on, it's not an
Findings of
agenda, it's a
fact.
separate variance application
Yeah.
twenty-four
For
oh
the
two.
findings of fact, it should be
What's up? on
what's up here. Our clerk may have made a mistake, I apologize.
Okay, fine. I'll use this one. Thank you. B, the board finds that the application is primarily made for the purposes of convenience or profit. I got that. We'll just wipe out this last sentence. Okay, so that being said, do we find the application is primarily for convenience or profit?
Yes.
I'd say
That's for sure.
for convenience, not so much profit.
Right.
So we'll say yes. C, let's see if these match. I think it does. I think C, we got it. C, a substantial ground offered in support of an application for use variance is the existence of other non-conforming use of neighboring lands, structures or buildings in the same zoning district or in other zoning districts. I'm gonna say no.
I agree.
Yeah.
Comfortable with no?
Yeah.
Well, this was tough, huh? Okay, so for the conditional variances, I've got yes for A and B and no for C. Correct? Comfortable? All right, that being said, and, I'd have this, there's no more on this, right?
Correct.
Okay. Then we can move to motion. If someone would like to make a motion.
I move to approve the use variance pursuant to section 1211.07B for variance application VA-24-024 with the following condition. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Licking County Building Code Department within 1 year of date of approval.
Thank you. Got a motion? Can I get a second?
I'll second.
And we got a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, let's move to roll, please.
Mr. Cooper,
No.
Mr. Howe,
No?
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Jimison,
Yes.
Mr. Dandridge.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The yeses have it. It has been approved. Variance application 24-024 has been approved. So I'm going to move this one. Get it out of here because it's got me all confused. Let's do that. And we can move right to variance application, or variance 24-025, which is the same property. Jack?
Correct, same property, same applicant. For this, they are requesting approval of 5 variances from Pataskala Code to allow for a camping trailer to be considered a habitable residential structure. So again, if we look up here, this is the property in question. Won't dwell too much on the specifics as we're all aware where it's going. So the request is Pataskala Code does not allow for travel trailers, recreational vehicles, and or camper trailers to be used as a habitable dwelling. By definition, it's not a dwelling, a building, or a structure. And additionally, section 1285.06A8 states that when a residential structure in a is non-conforming due to the fact of its being a non-conforming resident or a non-residential zoning district, such structure shall meet the requirements of the adjacent or most proximate residential district. So, Chapter 1203 provides definitions of structures, uses, etc., as far as their usage within Pataskala Code goes. A dwelling is described as any building which contains on or more dwelling units used, intended, or designed to be built, used, rented, leased, let, or hired out to be occupied, or which are occupied for living purposes, but not including a cabin, hotel, motel, rooming house, or other such accommodation used for transient occupancy. A building is described as any structure designed or intended to support enclosure, shelter, or protection of persons, animals, chattels, or property. A structure is anything constructed or erected, the use of which requires location on the ground or attachment to something having a fixed location on the ground. A dwelling unit is any single unit providing complete independent living facilities for one or more persons, including permanent provisions for living, sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation. A travel trailer would not meet those definitions in order to be considered a dwelling. So the applicant has requested 4 variants from these definitions of Chapter 1203. Additionally, as I mentioned before, 1285.06A states that any structure that is non-conforming due to the fact of it being in a non-residential zoning district must meet the requirements of the adjacent or most proximate residential districts. The most proximate in this case would be R20, in which 1231.05G1 states that in R20, all dwelling units shall be a minimum size of 1,450 square feet without a basement, and all dwelling units must be a minimum of 24 feet in width and depth. So the proposed is 560 square feet, so the request is to allow an increase by a minimum of 890 square feet or 61.38%, decrease. The proposed dimensions are 14 feet wide, so the request is to decrease the minimum width by 10 feet or 41.67%. Should those variances be approved, they would need permits from the city of Pataskala. And then before the city would sign off on any final approval, we need to see that the Licking County Health Department is okay with the sanitary arrangements, and that we'd also want them to reach out to the Licking County Building Code Department to see if there'd be anything needed on their end. Again, zoning inspector comments, just outlining the violation process that we went through. Didn't receive any comments from any of the departments or agencies. Findings of fact for an area variance are up there and also in your staff report. So should the board choose to approve the applicant's request, following conditions may be considered: that the applicant address all comments from planning and zoning staff, that they obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and Licking County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
5 variances. One, I understand, is the overall square footage. That's a 61% decrease. One is the width, which is a 42% decrease.
Technically, it's 1 because it's under the same section of code.
Okay. What are the other
The 4 other variances would be from the chapter 1203, the definition. So they need a variance from the definition of a dwelling,
Okay,
the definition of a building, the definition of a structure, the definition of a dwelling unit.
okay. That would be the other 4? That's not one?
Yes. They're all separate, yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Any discussion? Questions?
I guess maybe this was more valid for number 20, one of the previous. Is there a condition on time for this to be? I mean, could this be, considering it's a travel trailer, could there be a time limit on this variance? Or,
We do a variance for like 10 years, I think is
I
what
mean,
he's
I don't
saying.
know, is it can be revisited at a later date? Or I just,
You could
Yeah.
place a condition that they have to come back within 4 years, but since the other one was already approved, they already are allowed to do
so it would
on
have
property.
been on 24.
That would have been the place to put it.
Yeah.
Too late.
I thought about it too late.
So I mean, considering the other ones that are approved, I don't think these variances are that really much, I mean,
That's my take.
much more to really discuss, right?
Right.
Thoughts, but I can give Mrs. Brown, if you want to talk about this at all, you're welcome to. Want to give you the opportunity if you want to.
The variances on, the use variance would be specifically for this trailer, the remainder would go with the property.
Thank you. You've already been sworn in, so we'll hold you to that sort.
Okay, great. Is there a conditional use that it only be applicable if we are living there? Does that make any difference? If
Well,
we're the occupant of that home, that travel
Well, that's
trailer only
already-
be?
Again, that, we should have done it.
Because that
later.
was,
That's-
okay,
Well, that's actually, that's part of the use variance, because because I remember that with the one we had last month, if the applicant's no longer there, because the use variance stays with the applicant, if I recall.
That's correct, but
Yeah.
these variances go with the property.
Because they are.
So
These ones
the
do.
use
These are
variance
conditional
was
use.
to have a second residential use on the
Since this is
property.
an area variance versus.
Since this is an area variance, so for example, if they moved, but the trailer stayed there and there was nobody in the trailer, that trailer can remain there in perpetuity because they're getting all these variances. As long as no one's living in it.
That's, yeah.
It becomes a permanent structure, basically, by definition.
But I think that ship has sailed, right?
Could, no.
we feel we'll be the last occupants of this really old home because we know what's happening around us. We know what the future will hold. So we're just waiting for that to happen. Yeah, we understand what's going on. Our farm around us is our protection right now, and we thank Bob Carr for, selling us that beautiful old home that we fell in love with. So
Thank you.
we appreciate you guys taking your time tonight. So thank
No
you.
problem. Thank you.
Well, could we do something where we say, we put a condition in there that so long as the conditions of or variance, the last variances are met, we'd approve these. Because the original, the one we just did does have not a deadline, but it has a condition of time involved because if the applicant leaves, the trailer can stay there, but nobody can live in it unless they get a new use variance.
I don't think so. And then they could live it, right?
But if we were to say on the condition of this variance, that so long as the conditions of use variance, whatever the number is, are being met, basically tie the two together.
What are we trying to accomplish?
Well, I'm just saying if that's a problem. I mean, if we're worried about the timeline.
Well, I think, actually, does the variance that we just did pertain to that particular unit. Or in 5 years, they can bring another unit and replace it.
It pertains to that unit, because that's what was in the application to say this is what we're putting there.
Right.
So they come back and say we're gonna double the size,
It's
as
a
it
new
come back.
process.
However, it would just be the use variance, not the, assuming moving forward, the definitions for dwelling and structure and building and arguably the size.
I'm gonna move to findings of fact unless somebody wants to.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Variance application 24025, findings of fact A. Whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return, if there can be beneficial use of the property. Again, I think that's a yes. B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulation, that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. No. Okay, we know?
Yep.
Okay. C, whether the variance requested is substantial. At least the one is 60-something%, so I would have to say yes.
Yeah.
D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of it. Again, I'd say no, especially considering it's already been proved the other way.
Right.
E, whether the variance if granted will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent properties. Certainly, that would not be affected. So that's no. F, whether the variance if granted will be detrimental to the public welfare. Again, I don't see that affecting the public welfare. No. G, whether the variance if granted would adversely affect the delivery of government services. Should have no negative effect on that. Whether the property owner purchased the subject property with knowledge of the zoning restrictions, even though it was on the other case, he testified that they did not know. So no. I, whether the property owner's predicament can be obviated through some other method than variance. No.
Yeah.
No. J, whether the variance if granted will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue. And because they've already spec'd out that would be the minimum, I think.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement will be observed and substantial justice done. Again, with this variance, I'd have to say yes.
Mhm.
Comfortable?
Mhm.
Okay, yes, for variance application, findings of fact, 24-025, yes for A, C, J and for K, no for B, D, E, F, G, H, and for I. That being said, anyone want to give me a motion?
I'll move to approve the 5 variances from variance application VA-24-025 with the following conditions. The applicant shall address all comments from the planning and zoning staff, and the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Licking County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval.
Thank you. Got a motion? Can I get a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll, please.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Danderian,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes?
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Jimison.
Yes.
Thank you. Variance application 24025 has been accepted as written. And we're all set. Mr. and Mrs. Brown, good luck with your parents.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Next one, variance application 24-026. Jack.
Of course, so location of this is at 133 Annette Drive. It's currently zoned R20 medium density residential. And they're requesting approval of a variance from section 1221.09B Pataskala Code to allow for a front porch to encroach within the front yard setback. So if you take a look here, it's actually 2 properties here outlined in yellow. You've got Annette Drive on the west side here. So again, it's 2 lots, 0.29 acres each. On the north lot, there's a detached garage and 2 sheds. On the south lot, there's a single family home and a gazebo. It's existing non-conforming in some respects.
Both parcels do not meet the minimum area and width requirements of the R20 zoning district, that being 20,000 square feet and 100 feet in width. Existing, it's 12,632 and 80 feet wide. Also, it's non-conforming for the single-family home as far as the setbacks on the front and the north side. The variance was obtained in 2020 to allow for the construction of the garage on the north lot because it did not have a principal structure present when that was constructed. The proposal is the applicant would like to construct a front porch on their home that's going to extend 10 feet out in front of the existing structure. The house itself is only 40 feet from the property line pursuant to section 1231.05C1. The front yard setback in the R20 zoning district is 50 feet, and pursuant to 1221.09B, porches have to meet the setbacks. So here's a look at the plans that the applicant gave us here. So this is the current layout of the home. See, it's 40 feet from the property line here. They are proposing adding a 10-foot front porch on the front, so it'd be 30 feet from the property line now. In the narrative statement, the applicant stated that they do not believe the request would substantially alter the character of the neighborhood and that no adjoining property would suffer detriment as a result. The applicant also believes the request is the minimum to afford relief, as any addition to the front of the home would need a variance due to its existing nonconformity. They also stated that they were unaware of the zoning restrictions when the property was purchased. Here are the existing conditions on the property. So it's a U-shaped driveway. You can see this is the north lot here with the garage and sheds on it. And this is kind of looking towards the home. So there'd be a front porch on the front here. Part of our review, staff would offer the following comments. Again, 1221.09B states that porches must meet the setbacks of the zoning district in which they're located. In R20, the front yard setback is 50 feet. So the existing home is only at a 40-foot setback, and they want to build a 10-foot porch on the front. That would bring that setback down to 30 feet. So the request is to allow for the front porch to encroach a total of 20 feet into the front yard setback, or a 40% decrease. The right-of-way is a further 17 feet from the property line to the edge of the street. So they'd be roughly 47 feet from the edge of the street to the front of the house. Didn't receive any comments from any departments or agencies. Surrounding properties to the northeast, south, and west are all zoned R20, medium density residential, and they're all single family homes. Your findings of fact for an area variance that are also printed in your staff report there. So should the board choose to approve the applicant's request, following conditions may be considered. They obtain all necessary permits from the city and the county building code department within 1 year of the date of approval. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Area comments?
What was that?
Area comments?
I didn't receive any, no.
Nothing from me.
Questions? Is Mr. Ponzio here?
I'm actually here on his behalf.
Oh, great. Come on up. We have to swear you in, if we could.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
And can I have your name and address?
Brittany Skyberry.
Ms. Skyberry?
Yes, I'm here on behalf of Joseph Pronzio. This addition to the porch is actually more of a safety concern than anything. The way it is currently designed, the bottom of the porch has to be slanted like this slightly because of the way that the top of the roof is. Not exactly sure how better to explain that, but with the extension though, it's going to allow him to also build the deck out better on the front porch area as long as with the roof, just to overall improve the property and make it look better as well.
Ms. Skyberry, what is the existing condition? I look at this picture, it looks like is it sidewalk that goes up in front there?
There is a sidewalk that goes up to the front porch,
And
yes.
you're basically covering that over or putting a deck on top of that?
It's just going to be extending out a little bit. The sidewalk will remain there. I think it'll be shortened just slightly.
Okay. Gotcha. The question I had.
Good. None.
Question for Ms. Skyberry. Okay. Hearing none, you're welcome to sit down.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And the right of way was already, what, 20 feet you said, so the whole thing is still 47 feet back? Did I get that right?
Roughly, yeah.
I mean, it looks like pretty cut and dry to me.
Yes, sir.
All right, then in that case, unless anyone's got some more comments, I'm going to move to findings of fact. Variance application 24-026. A, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return, or if there can be a beneficial use of the property. I think that is a yes or a yes. B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property from being developed in strict conformity With the zoning regulations, such a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. There is a unique physical circumstance because it's already non-conforming. So I think yes is the answer there. C, whether the variance requested is substantial. If I remember right, it was 40%. So we will
Yeah.
put it in the no category.
No category.
D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. And again, no for either of those situations. E, whether the variance if granted will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent properties, will infringe at all, so that's a no. F, whether the variance if granted will be detrimental to the public welfare. Again, I don't see how that would be a negative. G, whether the variance if granted would adversely affect the delivery of government services. No, not going to block them. H, whether the property owner purchases subject property with knowledge of the restriction. I believe it was in the presentation that they did not know that. I, whether the property owner's predicament can be obviated through some other method than variance. In this case, it can't be if they're going to put it on. So we'll say no. J, whether the variance if granted will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue. I'm comfortable with yes on that.
Yeah.
Okay. And K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting this variance. I think yes. Okay. All right. Yes. A, B, J, and K. No for C, D, E, F, G, H, and for I. Findings of fact complete. Any other discussion? If not, we can move to a motion.
I move to approve a variance from section 1221.09B for variance application VA-24-026 with the following conditions: that the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala in the Licking County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval.
It's 2-7. See, application 2-7 or 2-6.
I said 26.
It's 2-7.
Is it?
No, it's two. Variance application 24-026.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a motion. Then I get a second.
Second.
And motion is second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, roll please.
Mr. Jemison.
Yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Danaran.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes. Thank you. Variance application 24-026 has been approved as written. Thank you very much, Mr. Skyberry. Appreciate you coming in. All right, next on the agenda, variance application 24-027. Jack.
Of course, so location of this is at 100 Connor Avenue Southwest. It's currently zoned R20, medium density residential. The applicant's requesting approval of two variances. The first is from section 1221.05B1 to allow for an increase in the maximum square footage of accessory buildings allowable on a single lot. The second is from section 1221.05A to allow for an increase in the number of accessory buildings allowable on a single lot. So you look up here, this is the property in question right here. You've got Connor Avenue on the east side of the property down here, Adams Lane, running east and west. So the property is lot 22 of the Ijams East Broad Street addition platted in 1928. It's currently occupied by a 1,434 square foot single family home. And accessory structures, there's a 1,500 square foot pole barn, a 400 square foot canopy, a 144 square foot shed, and then a additional 360 square foot carport that was constructed last year without obtaining a permit. So it's existing non-conforming in many aspects. The accessory buildings on the lot are limited to 840 square feet total. So the existing pole barn, canopy, and shed total 2,014 square feet, which exceeds by about 140%. The 360 square foot carport that was constructed without a permit last year is currently in violation of Pataskala code. Additionally, they're limited to a total of 2 accessory buildings on any lot. Currently, there's 3 existing non-conforming ones, plus the one that was constructed last year without a permit, for a total of 4. Here's a look at the site plan that was submitted by the applicant. So they have the existing pole barn here, canopy, the existing sheds down here, and And then the pole barn that was constructed is behind the house, right here. And here's kind of look at the existing conditions on the lot. So this is looking towards the northwest here on the south face of the property, kind of looking directly into the property. So the house here, you won't actually see the carports behind the house. And then this is kind of looking towards the southwest of the property. So in the narrative statement, the applicant said they'd like to keep the carport so they can clean up their yard, and that if approved, they stated they would remove the existing non-conforming 144 square foot shed that's in the front yard. The applicant believes the variance would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood and that no property would suffer a detriment as a result. And they further stated that they were unaware of the zoning restrictions when the property was purchased. As part of our review, staff offered the following comments. So Section 122105B1 states that on lots less than 2 acres in size, the maximum square footage of accessory buildings is limited to the equation gross acreage of the lot times 600 plus 120 times 2. So for a half acre lot, that gives you 840 square feet. If they're removing the shed, then the existing square footage would be 1,900 square feet. And keeping that 360 square foot carport added without a permit that's currently in violation, that would bring the total up to 2,260 or a 1,420 square foot increase over the allowable or 169.05%. Additionally, section 122105A states that the maximum number of accessory buildings on any lot is 2. There's a total of 3 that would be remaining on site if this variance is approved. The request is to increase the allowable number by 1 or 50%. And the property is currently in violation of Pataskala Code for other items in addition to construction without a permit. So should the variance be approved and the permit obtained, that would just be for the structure itself, not rectify the other violations currently present. The zoning inspector had their comments attached. So the property has been in violation a few times between 2018 all the way up until last year for items such as inoperable vehicles, outdoor storage of household items, unauthorized accumulation of refuse, junk, and trash. Property owner appeared in regards to the 2024 violations for the first arraignment that was allowed a continuance pending this BZA hearing for the violation in regards of construction without a permit. Their next court date is set for the 16th. Didn't receive any other comments from any other departments or agencies. Surrounding properties to the north, east, south, and west are all zoned R20 medium density residential. To the north, you have a single family home. On the east side, it's currently vacant. On the south side of the property is a single family home further south. And on the west side, it's currently vacant as well. There are your findings of fact for an area variance. Of course, also printed in your staff report. So should the board choose to approve the applicant's request, following conditions may be considered: that they obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Lincoln County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval. Do you have any questions? I'd be happy to answer those.
Looking at the history here, Jack, and it's, I think, starting with 2018, the history we got anyhow. There's several violations, and it doesn't indicate, or at least I'm not seeing it, that they were resolved as far as corrected, or are they still existing, these problems?
The ones in
In
2018.
2018, there was outdoor storage of household items, unauthorized accumulation, refuse, junk, trash. Then in 2020, it looks like the same thing. Now, whether it's the same items or not, I don't know. But outdoors, yep, same items or same violations. 2022. Same violations? Can't tell.
So I guess
Kind of the same violations. And then 23.
so. So just what's still outstanding, essentially.
I guess they're all pretty much still outstanding. Although they've been addressed, I think, in court. I mean, I see there's fines assessed and things like that. Was the situation ever remedied?
More or less, it's been in violation since 2018, the same general violations.
And it has not been resolved. Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Any questions for Jack? Mr. Flager, hopefully I pronounced that right. Are you-
Sure.
Great. Could you do me a favor, and if you could go ahead and look at him and get sworn in?
You you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Absolutely.
And can I have your name and address, please, for the record?
David W. Flager, 100 Connor Avenue, Southwest Pataskala, Ohio.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Flake, you heard the presentation. I believe you got a copy of it.
No, I never got, excuse me, I smoked too much. I never got a copy.
Okay. But you followed it right now. Did you, was there anything that they said that was incorrect or you want to clarify?
Yeah.
Okay, please.
I've cleaned up my property substantially, been hard at it. I got a bunch of waste slips. I should have brought them today, I guess, for cleaning up my property. Basically, Felix and I don't get along. Don't know why.
I'm sorry, Felix.
The zoning guy.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But I've resolved lots of issues.
Well, there's issues that continue to recur. So when did you resolve them?
In the past years.
Since 2018, have you?
Absolutely.
When? In 2018, you resolved those issues?
I resolved them all up until yesterday, until I come here today.
Okay, because we still got violations, 2000 violation was corrected. That's it. That's the other case.
Basically, they wanted me to clean up my yard, and I have been. I have waste slips where I took stuff in and got rid of it.
This carport that is under consideration right now, when did you construct that?
Probably like 6-7 months ago.
So in the past year?
Yes, sir.
And what is being stored in that now?
A shelf with paint cans, spray paint cans, a shake can, a scaffolding, an air compressor,
So
a
basically,
well, pardon me?
basically household type items that you're just getting getting undercover, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Mr. Flager? And your purpose for this carport, is it, I just see the name carport, so I assume cars, but it's not.
No, it's just really a metal building. I guess people call them carports, sir.
Gotcha. Okay. So,
Just to help me get more stuff out of my yard, so Pataskala's happy with me being there. I've been there 35 years.
okay. And are you familiar with the zoning requirements that, as far as building, I'm going to assume you weren't because you went ahead and built it without a permit.
Well, yeah, because it's just on the ground. There's no foundation. I didn't think I needed a permit for it.
So you weren't aware. That's understandable. Okay. Anything for Mr. Flager? Anything else for us, sir?
I'm trying hard and it's hard.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I understand. I mean, I think this continuing violations for the past 6+ years is certainly a concern. And I don't know that the carport is there's already a huge amount of square footage as far as accessory buildings. And the problems continue to exist. So I'm not sure that this was allowing this is a smart move as far as our end. Any thoughts?
I'm in agreement.
Any comments from neighbors?
Haven't received any.
All right, then if there's no discussion, I'm going to move to findings of fact, I guess. All right, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or if there can be a beneficial use of the property. I mean, right now the property is mostly storage, I guess. There is a beneficial use. Comfortable, yes? B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulations such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. I don't know of
I
any.
don't believe that there are.
Okay, so we'll say no for B. C, whether the variance requested is substantial.
It's almost 200%.
It's, well, considering
160.
the 360 puts it up over 1,000%, I guess. Anyhow, it's
169%.
Yeah.
169.
Yeah.
Okay. Certainly over our 50% threshold.
Right.
So we'll say yes for that. D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. The variance isn't affecting the essential character of the neighborhood, but I think the condition of the property is.
Mhm.
Would be substantially altered. So I would hope that something like this going up would improve it, but I don't think it has.
Right.
So I'm going to say, or the properties would suffer a detriment as a result. I can say yes on this. Anyone comfortable with yes? Anyone
Yeah.
think otherwise?
No, I agree.
Okay. E, whether the variance, if granted, will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent property. And I don't think it's infringing on the adjacent property, but it might impact, what people would want to put there.
Right.
But I'd say it shouldn't impair the use of it.
Okay.
So no. F, whether the variance, if granted, will be detrimental to the public welfare. I don't see how it would be.
I agree.
Whether the variance, if granted, would adversely affect the delivery of government services.
Shouldn't change anything.
Say no on that. H, whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the restriction. Mr. Boyer said he didn't know. So that's no. I, whether the property owner's predicament can be obviated through some other method than variance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely could not be assembled.
Mm-hmm.
J, whether the variance if granted will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue. I think no.
Hmm.
I don't know. What's your thoughts?
I would agree with no.
I'm in agreement.
And K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. Again, I think with the amount of accessory buildings and the situation of the property, I'm going to say this would be observed, and I'm going to say no on that.
I agree.
Agreed. All right, so variance application 24027, we have yes for A, C, D, and for I, and we have no for B, E, F, G, H, J, and K. That being said, any other comments? We have none. Can we move the motion?
I move to approve the two variances requested for variance application VA-24-027 with the following condition. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Licking County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval.
Thank you. Got a motion? Can I get a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. Roll, please.
Mr. Danaran?
No.
Mr. Coleman?
Nope.
Mr. Jemison?
No.
Mr. Howe?
No.
Mr. Cooper?
No?
Okay, variance application 24-027 has been denied. Fortunately, that has not passed. Mr. Flager, I'm sure staff will get with you on the next steps and what needs to happen.
Pardon me?
Staff will get with you on the next step on what has to happen as a result of this not being passed.
Trying to tear it down, right?
Most likely, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm free to go home.
You are.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay, but you don't have to.
Well, I've been here a long time.
I understand. All right, we still have conditional use 24-009. Is that something we
I believe the applicant's here, yes.
okay, perfect. And then Jack, it's on your radar.
All right, so location of this is at 14946 East Broad Street, which currently is in general business. The applicant's requesting approval of a conditional use pursuant to section 1249.04, part 19 of the Pataskala Code to allow for a tobacco store to occupy an existing commercial unit. So if you take a look up here, this parcel outlined in yellow is the subject property. You got Broad Street to the south here, and further over to the west, you have Taylor Road. So it's a just over 13,000 square foot commercial structure with 5 units in it. It's paved asphalt surface parking on all sides with 2 full access points on the Broad Street to the south. Proposal is the applicant would like to use one of those existing units to be occupied by a tobacco store. So the North American Industry Classification System identifies that as use code 469991. In which establishments primarily engage in retailing cigarettes, electronic cigarettes, cigars, tobacco, pipes, and other smoker supplies. It is in fact a conditional use in the general business zoning district pursuant to section 1249.04, part 19. The applicant is proposing no exterior changes to the site aside from new signage. Here's just a closer view of the existing conditions on the property. So you got their structure here, and there's parking on all sides, 2 access points on the east and west sides of the property. In the narrative statement, the applicant stated that they will offer cigars, smoking products, and vape supplies. They estimate 2 to 3 full-time employees. They also stated that they do not believe the proposed use will be hazardous or disturbing to neighboring uses, that they believe the site will be adequately served by all public facilities, including vehicular access, as it is a unit within an existing commercial development. Part of our review, staff would offer the following comments. The future land use map recommends medium density mixed use, which is described as being intended for both residential and neighborhood focused commercials, such as retail and office. That would mean the use is in line with the recommendations of the comprehensive plan, and the existing zoning is also general business, in which it's a conditional use. Section 1291.16 states that 1 parking space is required for 200 square feet of gross floor area for retail uses. The total area of the building is 13,078 square feet, so 66 are required for the whole structure, only occupying, of course, this use will only be occupying a portion of that, but there are 107 existing spaces within that parking area on the property. Again, 1215.09 conditional uses had to be carried out within 6 months of date of approval, and then any signage is subject to the requirements of Chapter 1295, and a permit will be required prior to installation. The fire district has the following comment: that once the remodel is completed and the tenant is ready to open for business, tenant shall contact the fire district's fire marshal bureau and schedule an inspection, and that can be scheduled by any one of the fire marshals. Didn't receive any comments from any other departments or agencies. Surrounding properties, to the north, you have R20 medium density residential, which is single family homes. To the east is general business, which is an auto parts store. On the south side of the road, it's actually Reynoldsburg zoning, but there's this community commercial, which is a retail store and a gas station. And on the west side is general business, which is a drive-through restaurant. There are your findings of fact. Of course, also printed in your staff report. So should the board choose to approve the applicant's request, the following conditions may be considered. They get on this, they carry out the conditional use within 6 months of the date of approval pursuant to section 1215.09. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Do we need to consider a condition to, to address the fire district's comments?
Could certainly be added. Address all comments from the fire district.
I think that should be.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else for Jack? If not, then we do have, as the applicant, Mr. Elarbid? Would you like to step up? And if I could have you raise your hand and get sworn in?
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
And can you give me your name and address for the record?
Adam Al-Arbed, and the address one. Just we've been driving from New York for 7 hours. So
Yeah.
can I
Glad
put
you
the
made it.
address?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Thank you.
Take your time.
It's, yeah.
It's looking for the
It's
address.
14946 East Broad Street.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Alarbid?
Yes.
Okay. You heard presentation. Anything you want to clarify or add for it?
No.
And you're basically just wanting to open a tobacco store
Yes.
in a vacant spot right now. I don't think I have anything. Well, that was easy. I'm glad you made it safely from your trip.
Thank you.
Please go ahead and have a seat.
Thank you so much.
Without objection, I'd like to go right to findings of fact. Okay, conditional use 24-009. One is in fact a conditional use as established under the provisions of Title III of the Planning and Zoning Code for the specific zoning district of the parcel listed on the application. So we say yes. Two, will be harmonious with and in accordance with the general objectives or specific objective of the city comprehensive plan and or this code. I think I'm comfortable with that zone correctly and the building's already there, so yes. Three, will be designed, constructed, operated, maintained so as to be harmonious in appearance with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity, and that such use will not change the essential character of the same area. I mean, the building's already there. I don't think it's going to change the character at all. Four, will not be hazardous or disturbing to existing or future neighboring uses. Yes, it will not be. Five, will be served adequately by essential public facilities and services such as highways, streets, police and fire protection, drainage structures, refuse disposal, water and sewer, and schools, or that persons or agencies responsible for the establishment of the proposed use shall be able to provide adequately any such services. Services already exist. Building is up and operating. So I think yes is comfortable. It will be, right? Agreed. Six, will not create excessive additional requirements of public cost for public facilities and services and will not be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community. And I believe, yes, it will not be. Agreed. Seven, will not involve uses, activities, processes, materials, equipment, and conditions of operations that will be detrimental to any person's property or the general welfare, including but not limited to excessive production or traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glare, odor, potential for explosion, and air or water pollution.
Agreed.
So yes, it will not be. So 7 would be yes. 8, will have vehicular approaches to the property, which shall be so designed so as not to create an interference with traffic on surrounding public thoroughfares. It's already existing and that would not be an issue. So 8 would be yes. And 9, will not result in destruction, loss, damage of a natural, scenic, or historic feature of major importance.
Yes, it will not.
Yes, so all are conditional use 24-009. Yes for 1 through 9. Any additional discussion? If not, can we move to motion?
I move to approve a conditional use pursuant to section 1215.08 of the Pataskala Code for application CU-24-009 with the following conditions. That the applicant shall carry out the conditional use within 6 months from the date of approval pursuant to section 1215.09 of the Pataskala Code. And the applicant shall address all necessary comments from the fire marshal.
Thank you. We got a motion, and can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes?
Mr. Danderian,
Yes.
Mr. Jimison,
Yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes. Conditional use 24-009 has been approved. Mr. Alabama, good luck with the business. Thank you. Drive careful. Okay. All right, we're going to move back to findings of fact. I would like to make a motion to approve the findings of fact for conditional use 24-002 as discussed at the beginning of this meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Can I get any discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Danderian,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Jimison,
Yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to accept the findings of fact as discussed for variance application 24-024. Can I get a second?
Second.
And a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll, please.
Mr. Jimison,
Yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Danaray,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes. Variance application 24024, findings of fact accepted. I'd like to make a motion to accept the variance, findings of fact for variance application 24-025 as discussed earlier.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion. Roll, please.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Danaray,
Yes.
Mr. Jimison,
Yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes. Okay, variance, findings of fact of variance application 24-025 accepted. I'd like to make a motion to accept the findings of fact for variance application 24-026 as discussed earlier in this meeting.
Second.
And motion and a second. Discussion. Roll, please.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Jimison,
Yes.
Mr. Danaray.
Yes.
You, findings of fact variance application 24-026 have been accepted. Okay, like to make a motion to accept the findings of fact for variance application 24-027 as discussed just a few minutes ago.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Roll, please.
Mr. Danaray,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Jimison,
Yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Thank you. Findings of fact for variance application 24-027 has been accepted as discussed. And I'd like to make a motion to accept the variance application or the findings of fact for conditional use 24-009 as discussed.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Danaray,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Jimison.
Yes.
Conditional use 24-009, findings of fact have been accepted. Okay, I don't know if it's appropriate. Can you make a motion to excuse my absence?
Yeah. I move to excuse the absence of Mr. Howe from the December hearing.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll please.
Mr. Howe,
Abstain?
Mr. Danaray,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Jimison.
Yes.
Thank you. I have been excused. We do have the minutes from that December 10th meeting, which I was just excused from. I'd like to make a motion to accept them as presented.
Second.
And any discussion? Hearing none, roll please.
Mr. Jimison,
Yes.
Mr. Danaray,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes. Minutes from December 10th meeting have been approved as presented. Any other business to be brought before this board?
No, sir.
Hearing none, I'd like to adjourn until Tuesday, February 11th. Make a motion as such. Can I get a second?
Second.
Motion and second, discussion, and roll, please.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Jimison,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Danaray.
Yes.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your patience in that.
I'm pretty sure that Rob stated that if you are going to be approved for the meeting, that you will hear him a beer or two.